What's going on, Mosey Nation? In this video, this is a hot take that I had when I was very, very fed up with the amount of people who are failing at life and business. And this is one of the top 300 videos that I released into a private community that I had for 3 or 4 years that were not public.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 334. Hope you're amazing as always. I really do. I've got an interesting one for you today. Do you know, everyone talks about in social media and in business, everyone shows the bright side, right? Do you know what I mean? Everyone shows the money, the success, the bling bling. Everyone shows those things. Marketers show what they've got in the bank account, you know, how much money they made, and that's just the nature of what's going on in the world right now, you know? But the truth is, there's a real other side of entrepreneurs. And we spoke about this many times before, for sure. And what we spoke about before is, well, entrepreneurs have an anxiety, stress, overwhelm, health issues, mental health issues, right? And people don't really talk about those negative consequences. And I do, right? Of course I do. But there's another side of this. So if you want to look at two sides of the coin, well, this is the third one. We've got a little pyramid going on in this coin. This is about, well, understand this is in every single industry in the world, right? It really is. Could be the music industry, could be professional sports, could be even becoming a CEO, it could be even being a high-level manager. It's really the third side of this coin. and it's, most people don't make it. And what do I mean by that? Most entrepreneurs don't make much money. Does that make sense? It goes against everything that you're getting shown, of course. It goes against everything that people are posting, of course. And it goes against what people will really tell you what the truth is. It's true, man. I remember being added to a post. This was a couple of years ago, and it was by a good friend of mine, Harlan Kilstein, and Harlan's one of the OGs in NLP, and he was another high-level coach there, not an NLP guy, but just a high-level coach, and he tagged a few people in this post. And what was amazing was that the people, well, he was getting complained at because he was teaching a coaching program. And people were complaining that because you can't earn this type of money. I've done this for 15 years. I can't even earn 6 figures doing coaching, blah, 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 blah. Well, I used the blah, 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 but I really shouldn't, because it's kind of the truth. It's kind of the truth for a lot of people. And they were saying, well, we do live events, and by the time you've taken all the expenses out, we're not even hitting what we should. And there was all these excuses. And is it excuses or is it reality? Well, is it a reality? Yes, it's definitely a reality. Is it the truth? It's their truth. And this is the thing in the coaching industry. It's been saturated with so many different people. And not everyone, you've heard me rant on about this so many times, but people are full of crap. They're marketers, they're not real coaches. So what happens is the industry gets a little damaged. Well, it's been massively damaged, okay? The other side of it is coaches who are true brilliant coaches, well, often they're not marketers. Do you get it? So marketer coaches, as I like to call them, marketing coaches who aren't real coaches, they just learned some BS and now they go and teach it and they charge high ticket prices, and they're great at marketing and sales, but they're not really creating massive value in people's lives, right? They're just making money. Then you got the other side of the equation where you have really, really talented coaches who've done this for many years, got wisdom of experience, and guess what? They're not good at marketing. So what happens is they end up getting hurt. And really, ultimately, the industry is on its head. It's completely on its head because those are the people that should be getting, well, the entrepreneurs and everybody else should be getting access to these people, but they're not. They're getting access to BS. And so what happens is if you don't have both skills, then it's very hard to run a business, right? And there's the other key word.
Sales appointment.
Marketing is not running a business. A business is running a business. Being a coach is being a coach. It's not running a business. So you've got to have so many irons in the fire or plates spinning or wheels turning, whatever you want to call it. But you need all of these in place to be able to create a successful business. And the truth is, it's like I've looked at so many different types of so many different types of businesses with founders over the years, 19 years, remember, I've been doing this game for. And what's wild is that it's very hard, even on a big company, that the main person has all the skills. They don't. They really don't. And so you have to have a team. It's just what has to happen. For you to grow a business the way you want it, you have to have a team. Even if it's you with other people around you, and you know, it could be a small crew of 2, 3, 4 people, but that's awesome if it gives you the life that you want. You know, but the biggest thing that I've seen at the highest levels from you get who I've worked with, right? Highest levels to the lowest levels, there's something that distinguishes other people from success and the other people that don't. Now, it's definitely responsibility, right? It's definitely responsibility of up-leveling, because you can be the best coach in the world, but nobody is going to hear you or see you or love what you do if you can't get these other skills in place. But the biggest thing that holds people back is, what do you think I'm going to say? What do you think I'm going to say? Yeah, it's their thinking. It's always their thinking, right? If you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, right? But even if you believe you can, if you don't have the skills, it doesn't mean jack. It doesn't mean nothing if you don't have the skills. Just because you believe you can do a slam dunk doesn't mean you can, right? If you haven't worked on your jump, if you haven't got certain natural attributes, you're not going to be able to slam dunk. You can't fly to the moon. If you believe you can and you don't have the skills like a rocket, right? You can't get to the moon. Now, maybe you want to go down the woo-woo and we can say, yeah, we can astral project, we can interchange dimensions. Maybe so. But what I'm talking about is right here and right now with what's on the table. And the biggest thing that's holding everyone back who's a coach or an entrepreneur is simply the way they think. And that's about the past, that's about the future, that's about who they are in each moment of the day. That's the visuals that are programmed in the brain that are giving them the vision to drive forwards, right? If you don't have that passion inside, it's going to be very hard. So today, I'm probably going to introduce you to a gentleman. It's I've grabbed one of his clips. I love doing this recently, by the way. You've probably noticed if you're a long-time listener. I just love grabbing these clips. I used to do a lot of articles, little solos, but now I just like grabbing these clips, right? So it's like, if I haven't got a guest on, which is kind of rare these days, to be honest, but I just still do bring guests on. But it's like I'm going back and forth with someone when I do these clips. Now, obviously, we got the Radical Formula launching, and that's going to come with its own podcast on Radcast with Ryan Alford. So that's means I'm going to have somebody to bounce all these ideas and thoughts off live. And so make sure you're heading over to the Radcast for sure. But the gentleman I am going to introduce you to today is a guy called Alex Hormozi. Excuse me if I've pronounced that wrong. I've followed this guy for quite a while, maybe like 6 months, maybe longer, to be honest. He is yeah, he was worth 100 million by the time he was like 30 or 27 years old or something crazy. All in the fitness industry, all digital marketing. But the guy is clever. He's really, really clever. And I'm sure I'm connected to him through 6 degrees of separation, or probably 1 or 2. And maybe I'll reach out to him at some point. But I really... You need to check his channel. He's a badass, man. He doesn't sell a thing. Oh, he has. He's got an ebook, which is $1. That's it. He's just giving information away. And that's why I love this channel. But he's not giving information away that isn't really wisdom-based. Because he's gone through so much to get that level of success. And he probably earns like 10 plus mil a year himself, personally. And you've got to listen to these guys because does he have a little bit of ego? Yeah, he does. Does he say that he's got a little bit of ego? Yeah, he does. Does he say he's got a lot more in the past? Yes, he does. So that's what I like about him. He's open, he's genuine, he's real, and he tells you what other people aren't going to tell you. He really does. And what this clip's about today is why entrepreneurs stay broke. Plain and simple, why do entrepreneurs stay broke? And entrepreneur, you can define that any which way you choose. Wannabe entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, people who are doing massive businesses. But again, most entrepreneurs hold themselves back and stay broke. And you know what? It's definitely the big reason why I've set the radical formula with Ryan. It really is, because we both got sick and tired of douchebags in the industry just being marketers or marketing or marketing coaching or marketing just themselves to make money. And it drives me crazy because it hurts thousands and thousands of people. And so the reason why we set the radical formula up, now Ryan's got like a top 24 in the world business podcast. He's a beast. He's just had everyone you can imagine. Or he has everyone you can imagine on. And yes, I've been on too. So I was very, very lucky. And that's how we connected. But we just got sick of things, and we're out here to tell the truth. And when someone's worked with the NFL, Verizon, and all of these different companies, he comes from classical educational corporate trained marketing for big brands. That's very different view to some idiot who's just, well, I shouldn't say idiot, but whatever. I'm going to say idiot, who's a clever person, to be honest, who's looked at and studied a little bit of things and then go out and teaches very fundamental things, but with no wisdom behind it. And at the end of the day, it's a facade, it's a front, it's a gimmick for them to make money, and it drives me crazy. And that's the same thing in the coaching industry. It's the same thing in mental performance, which is what I do, or what my system is called neuro conditioning, right? Conditioning your brain and nervous system to step into the unknown, to get it to respond how you want it to respond in the moment, right? So you could be scaling your business, launching your business, etc., etc. Ryan, well, I'm excited to learn off him. Why? Because marketing is a science, just like what I do is a science. And marketing is such a science that you really have to understand what you're doing. So the reason we're setting the radical formula up is to solve this issue. We want to be able to give you the exact tools that you need, not airy-fairiness, not noise, not BS, no, real world things that actually work with high-end clients, right? And that's what you should always be asking in a mastermind, which is what this is. You should always be asking in a mastermind or coach, who are your biggest clients and what have you done for them? That's it. And that's what we put together. So the reason I say all that to you is this is what this episode is about. It's addressed here by Alex, right? Alex Hormozi. And it's all about the brain. It's all about thinking. It's all about you. So I'm going to jump into this in a minute and we'll see where it goes, because as always, I have no idea. I just go after listening to it and I love it. So we're going to talk about that in a few moments. But just before we do, I want you to press pause on this. I want you to head over to the show notes or get on your phone right now and go to theradicalformula.com. gmail.com. You can sign up for the VIP list. We're going to be launching it at the end of Jan. And guess what? Yeah, you want to be a part of this. Well, we've got massive discounts, massive lives. You're going to want to be a part of this and an early bird. So go and sign up for the Radical Formula VIP list. And man, you're going to be so pumped when you get involved in this. Okay, so go and do that now. Every other link you can click in the show notes, especially hanging out with me on all social media. Don't do that, Andy Murphy Mindset. You'll find me. You'll find me. But definitely go and head over to the Radical Formula so we can help you out and hit that next level, right? If you're scaling from 6 to 7 figures, we are your guys. So, should we just get on with the podcast? Yeah, I thought you might say that. Let's jump in and let's go and listen to Alex Hormozi.
What I wanted to talk to you about today was Eye of the Tiger. So I just had our like a 3-day mastermind type thing with the top sellers. So 2 out of the 3 gyms who came here were over 7 figures, and the other one is going to probably hit it within the next 3 months. So it was great because it was a really higher level conversation than I might typically have with entrepreneurs, which is fun. What we talked about was kind of more amorphous, but I think it's incredibly valuable, and I think it's probably the one thing that sets apart the guys who are really winners / gals who are really winners and the ones who aren't. And so it's really just around hunger. What I mean by that is recently I had some of our older OG gym lords who'd been a while. You know, I mean, they turn their gym around, they've grown, they're at, you know, close to 7 figures or right around there, and they've been doing it for a while. And they were complaining about show rates. They're like, hey, our show rates are low. And you know, you go through the saying, well, you're doing the reminders, are you doing all this, blah, blah. Yeah, we're doing all this stuff. Okay, cool. And I dig a little bit deeper and I look, and it turns out that they're only open 1 hour per day at 7:15 a.m. for their availability for new clients. And I'm like, how the fuck do you think that you're going to grow your business if the only time that you can take new customers is at 7:15 a.m.? In what world does that make sense, right? Like, imagine a grocery store that's only open from 7 to 7:30 because that's when it's convenient for the owner. What chance do you think that grocery store has at succeeding? Virtually none. And so what happens is people have success. They implement tactics. They use gym watch, and then they make money, right? And then what happens? They get comfortable. They get complacent, right? And they lose their hunger. Like, after that point, everything, like, it's almost like, I almost want to say, like, after you've like, quote, made it in your mind. And that's what's funny, is that making it in some people's mind is like having 10 grand in their bank account. So like, it's scary in terms of what level of making it is. But like, once people have made it, I almost want to say, like, none of these tactics matter because you're just not hungry. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the obvious shit you aren't doing. You know what I mean? If your child was going to die, or your spouse, or your significant other, your family member, whatever it was going to die, unless you succeeded, unless you got more clients, unless you made more money with your gym, how would you approach it, right? Would you only be available for 1 hour a day? Would you only be available from 7 to 8 a.m.? Would you only set aside an hour a day to prospect for new customers? Would you only reach out to your existing customers if they hadn't shown up for a month? Sometimes people ask questions that they already know the answer to. It's like, duh, no shit, right? And it goes back to the main thing, which is like, what drives you, right? Like, what drives you? What drives you to be better? What drives you to continue to want to win?
Okay, crew, let's jump in there. He brings up some really interesting points. A lot of the clients I've had over the years, they have been successful, and then they want to go to that next level, that next stage, right, of growth, business, maybe it's freedom more in the business, whatever it is. And they want to hit that next stage. But the thing about that is they're very comfortable with their life. Do you know what I mean? So what they look for is the same desire, or what I call a driver, an internal driver, as what got them there. Do you know what I mean? So before it could have been poverty, right? And they're like, we're going to make this. And everything was focused. Their intensity, their belief, their drive, their discipline, everything, right, was going to drive them towards. And then it hit a certain target or a certain goal. Then what happened? Yeah, they got a little bit, oh, let's have a little reward, slow down a little, everything's good, start to enjoy life more. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's all good stuff. But then they wonder why they're not hitting that next level, because they're looking for what got them there originally. Not what's going to get them to the next stage, but what got them there originally. And it's very different. It has to change. What was driving you is not going to drive you the same way again, right? It's like everyone, like someone, I always go to athletes, but someone working in the Olympics, well, maybe working in the Olympics, but heading towards the Olympics, and they've been on that mission since they were 10 years old. Then guess what? They win that gold medal and they're standing there, and the gold medal's put around their neck, and they're taking a big breath, and the realization comes through them that, oh wow, I've won. And at that stage, there's so many. I've done podcasts around this, right, with Danica Patrick and stuff. And she was saying that the moment that medal got put around her neck, then she lost her drive, right? Actually, it wasn't Danica Patrick. It was an Olympic athlete. And when you start to really understand that, what got you there will not get you to where you want to go next. So you have to go inside and look at what that fuel is. What's that new driver, that new way? But often what got a lot of people to success is ego. And ego comes from insecurity. Ego comes from doubt. Ego comes from primal instincts of survival. But once you've got that comfort zone, once you've got that level of income or level of freedom that you originally came for, then isn't it hard to get going again, right? And something, I can't remember which boxer said it, but it's hard to be, hard to win the next belt when you're living in silk sheets, right? When you're sleeping in silk sheets. And when you look at what that really means, it's what got them there was the grit, the grind. And I hate the word grind, but in this case it was that desire to move away from where they were so much that got them to that next stage. But you have to ask yourself this question. What are you desiring now? Where's that fuel coming from? What are you going to achieve? Maybe it's not pain anymore. Maybe it's pleasure. Maybe it's philanthropy. Maybe what is that bigger thing that you need inside of you to take action? Think about that.
I was asked that question yesterday by the gym owners that were here. And I think, honestly, it comes from a dark place. And I think I've said this before, but like, I'm saying it again because I think people need to hear it. Sometimes you have to wonder, like, why is it that only when someone else's life is on the line do you then actually try, right? Like, why is it only then you actually cut all the noise out of your life and then would go laser focused on actually succeeding? Like, why can't we do that all the time, right? Like, why can't we do that? Because it's like, well, then I wouldn't be happy, whatever, right? Like, whatever happiness means, right? And so the people who are the most successful in the world are driven by something that is deep inside of them, that is normally an insecurity or a fear of some sort. If you're only trying to make enough to live on, you will always only make enough to live on. And you will slack the moment you get comfortable. And you will wonder, why is it that as soon as I start making money, I stop? Because you actually don't want to make more. That's why. You actually don't want to make more. And so your internal motivation is not there, like, because you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish. The real question is, do you actually want what you claim to want? Do you actually want it? Because if you did, you'd already have it. You'd already be willing to sacrifice other things in order to achieve it. And that might mean, like, maybe waking up earlier, maybe like working 4 to 8 p.m. to take sales appointments, or whatever that thing is. It's just the obvious shit. Like, if you were coaching you, what would you recommend you to do, right? Like, a lot of times if you think about it, like, you most of the time know what to do. Like you do on some level. Like you probably know that you're like, man, I do stupid shit sometimes, right? You probably think that on some level sometimes, right? Then you're like, man, if you could step out of yourself and say, I need to coach myself, you probably have the answer. And it's just that you don't do it for some reason. And so all of your attention should be on that reason. Why is it that this thing is preventing me from doing the things that I already know I should do? Like this last mastermind that I had for the top sellers was really interesting for me because it was the first time that I had no one who had extra shit. I didn't have any, like, everyone there had really like clean lives outside, like were really focused and just focused on doing the things that were going to grow their business. The conversations were actually really easy and very direct. Most times it's like, okay, well, here's the obvious hole in your business, but you're not doing anything about it. So let's attack why you're not doing anything about it, right? And so then I have to spend the next hour and a half digging into why they're not doing anything about it, which has much more to do with how they manage their headspace and how they manage their relationships and how they manage their, and because what ends up happening is they start focusing on the business, their personal life goes to shambles. They then are like, oh my gosh, my personal life is going to shambles. I need to stop paying attention to my business. They go to pay attention to their personal life and then their gym explodes, right? And it's just this consistent cycle because they just don't know how to just do both, or they don't know how to prioritize things. All this to say, like, it's just like, how hungry are you? Like, how willing are you to put in what you need to achieve? Like, and if you're not, then that's cool. Then just to stop saying you want it.
I love this. I love this because he's just saying it like it is. And he's absolutely right about real, true, like, billionaires. I'll tell you a story about a billionaire. A friend of a friend was working for a multi-billionaire in New York. All in finance game. I think it was a hedge fund at the time. And I remember speaking, well, what's this guy like? What's the billionaire dude like? And the one who owns the fund. And they were like, well, he's interesting. I was like, what do you mean? They go, well, he goes to work every day on the train. I was like, wow, really? And they were like, yeah. And I give it, that's really cool that he's so humble and doesn't care about all the aesthetics, that he's going to travel with everybody else on the train. And they went, oh, no, that's not the reason. I was like, what do you mean? What's the reason? And they were like, well, he doesn't want to spend money. I was like, what? And he doesn't want to spend the money on a car or a driver, so he gets the train instead because it's way cheaper. And I said, this is the billionaire dude? And they were like, yes. And I was like, wow. What does that tell you? His psychology is made up of lack, fear, doubt, scarcity. That's what drove him to accumulate things. That's what drove him to create a business, right? It's about hoarding and making the money, but not using it, spending it, because he's worried deep inside unconsciously. He might not even be conscious about this, but deep in his unconscious mind, he doesn't have self-worth. So he's worried about it all going away and him going back to where he started from. And that driver inside of him is fear, scarcity, lack. So just before everything else, how do you think he feels on a daily basis? Well, not very good. If you put him on a room on his own and just left him there, he probably wouldn't be content and happy. He would probably have to be in action of moving forwards, because that's what creates a temporary fix of self-worth, which then, well, guess what? You're constantly hitting dopamine to make himself feel good. And the truth is, that's a messed up way to be. Money is just money, right? It's what you're doing while you're earning it or creating it that gives you fulfillment. So what Alex is talking about there is, again, if you're wanting all of the blinginess, and that's the reason that you're driving and building a business, not treating it as a game that you're going to win because it's linked to your own growth, which is what business is, then why do you keep beating yourself up and not actually pushing forwards in the business and making excuses? Why is that? And I've always found this as something he said too. The higher up the client is, generally they've got everything together. So they're not looking for me to be able to show them business strategies or tactics or even like, it's just often they're present and they're doing awesome. What we show them is how to expand even more, how to train their brain even more, how to get that limitless brain. You know what I mean? That's what I do with those type of clients. It simply depends on where you're at in the game. But the point to all of this is, what is driving you forward, or what is holding you back? What's the truth, man? What's the truth?
You know what I mean? Just be like, I only want to make $10,000 a month. That's it. And it's like, cool. Then just say that and be good with it, rather than constantly complaining about how you're not, because you're not even willing to do the things that you already know you should do. Like right now, I get on the phone with the gym owners. They're like, I know I should work my leads harder. I know I should go through the sales trainings more. Like, I know I should, go through the portal. I know I should meet with my team more. I know I should pour my, like, then why aren't you? Why aren't you? Like, why? Like, why? Like, I know you have time because other people have time and have the same business as you. So you have time. So why aren't you? Because once you have the tactics, right? And this is one of the biggest, the freeing and also most soul crushing parts of Gym Launch is that once a gym owner joins Gym Launch, you know how to make a 7-figure gym. You know how to do it. And so then it reflects back onto you. It's like, oh shit, I'm the reason that we're not there. And you have to swallow that, right? Because up until they go to Gym Launch, people have been doing it for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, and they're like, I don't know how. And then once they see how, then they're like, oh shit, I'm not sure if I'm willing to do that. And it's like, cool. Once they know that there is no secret, there is no hack, it's literally like Mike Ramphone, he uses the term chopping wood. Like I call doing the boring work. It's like it's chopping wood. It's reps. It's day in, day out. You got to reach out to people. You got to give great service. Write the handwritten cards. Like remind people to weigh in. You have to work the leads. When the person comes in the door, you have to be enthusiastic. You got to greet them with a smile. You have to ask the same questions over and over and over again, because to that person, it's the first time they've ever heard it.
I mean, obviously Alex is talking about gyms there, but it's the same with everything, right? It's the same with everything. And you don't have time, totally understand. Then you need to start building a team somehow, some way. Don't know how to run a team, never done it before, right? Okay, that's okay. So learn how to do that. Does that make sense? Because otherwise it's okay. Or find a way to... find your way. There is no path. Like this is there's the other side of this. This is classical business, what he's talking about, and those things that are very, very important. But I always go back to WhatsApp, right? Some people have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on their team. And I always go back to WhatsApp. WhatsApp got sold, I think it was 4.3 billion or something like that, and it only had 20 employees. And I think 2 of them were the original employees who started it. So when you start looking at that, you can simplify things or complicate things. I mean, you could just be a salesperson who goes around and sells massive high ticket things. And when I'm talking high ticket, I'm not talking $2,000, I'm talking 2 million, or 10 million or 100 million. Right, you could sell resorts, spacecraft. You could sell anything, right? Planes, all of those things. That's high ticket. You sell things to countries. That's even more high ticket, right? Sell things to governments. That's even more high ticket. So you could actually simplify everything and just be a consultant who goes out and does those type of deals. But it simply depends on what you're doing and what you want. But at the end of the day, if you want 10 grand coming in every single month and you wouldn't even have to think about it, that's badass. That's badass, right? So if that was the truth, why wouldn't you just be doing that now and getting rid of everything out your head and your heart and your business and the noise just to make that happen? Make sense?
And it doesn't matter if it's the 100th time that month you asked the same questions to that person's day one. And so if you were trying to be successful, do you think that only having availability for sales appointments at 7:15 to 7:45 in the morning once a day is going to get you the optimal outcome? Do you need a coach to tell you that? Really? You know what I mean? Like, really? And so like, or there was another one that I saw that was like between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. That was their availability. Good luck with that. That's when the people who have the most money are available, right? 9 to 11 during the week. We know what to do, right? Anyone who's in our world, like, you know what to do. It's just, you have to figure out why you're not doing it, right? And then attack that, because the tactics aren't the thing anymore, right? The tactics are there. You can read a book and give it away for free, right? Like, you can do that. But like, figure out why you're not hungry. Figure out why you're not, why you're not trying. Like, just figure it out. Like, there might be something inside you. Maybe you don't want more. And like, you need to discover that. It's like, okay, then like, now you know. But like, if you claim to want more and yet you can't do what's necessary to get more, then that's where your attention should go. And you should figure that out, because otherwise it doesn't matter what tactics there are. You're just not going to do them anyways. So what's the point? And so it's like, what is that thing? For me, it's just fear. It's just fear and insecurity. It's fear of failing, fear of not being good enough, fear of people who hated to be right. You know what I mean? That's what my fear. And so I just like, that's what drives me. It's not about money. It couldn't have been about money, because I don't need any more for the rest of my life at all. It's like, it can't be about that. But if it is like about that for you, and you feel like when you make your first $20,000 take home month, your first $40,000 take home month, your first $50,000, $100,000 take home month, the first time you hit that, like, if that's where you're like, oh, and you feel this big sigh of relief, then your motivation is not coming from the right place. I'm telling you straight up, if you feel relief when you make a lot of money one month, your motivation is not coming from the place of a champion. If you want to be the best in the world at something, that's not going to do anything for you. You shouldn't feel anything from that. You should feel nothing, really, because it's not about that. That's just an output. That's an output from internal efforts, and you should be focused more on the internal efforts and all of the deficiencies that you probably had in still hitting the 100K. It's like, oh my gosh, if we hadn't done this, this, and this, we would have been less, right? And if we had done this and this, we would have been more. Like, that's what you're focusing on, and you're only focusing on those things. And if you can do that, then you'll be able to unlock something inside of you that's much stronger than what might currently be driving you.
So really, to wrap this up, what is the truth? What's the truth? What's the truth to what you want? What's the truth to what you truly want to experience life like? You want to earn $1 million a year? Cool. How do you want to experience earning that $1 million a year? And do you really want to earn $1 million a year? Or is that just something that's in your head? That's the questions you got to ask. And what we're talking about here is something Alex, I personally believe, leaves out, because he's just naturally driven. But you understand the driven side of him, what created it. And he might have a difference of opinion, and sorry, Alex. But the truth is, he said it there. It's insecurity. Do you understand that? And that's when you know his background. He's a son of an immigrant, so that's been installed into his genetics. But the truth is that will keep you driving forwards. But I don't personally like that feeling. And I don't want that feeling inside of me. Will that stop me hitting a level that I know I can? I don't think so, no. The reason is my vision is so big, and it's way more than business. It's way more than business. Philanthropy, it's helping, right? And there's millions of people to help. And at the end of the day, if I'm living in my own insecurity, then I'm going to make decisions coming from that. I'm not going to make decisions from love. I'm not going to make decisions from gratitude, expansion, right? And then you go, yeah, but you haven't got 100 million, Andy. Look, I don't really care. I've got my path to pull 100 million in, and it's different to running a standard business. That's the truth, right? Will this earn me, like with Ryan and everything else, and the Trade Genius Trader and the 8-Figure Thinker, Mental Performance Academy, will all of those earn me millions? Yes, 100%, right? They absolutely will. But the other side of it is who am I on the mission? Who am I on the journey? Am I being that ultimate version of me? Because if I was, I would get scared and I would overcome it. The driver would be from growth. The driver would be from the obsession with service, giving, right? And he definitely comes from that. That's why he's created the YouTube channel, all the rest of it. But he's getting to the truth. He just is making sure that he's being truthful and honest with himself. And that's what the thing is that's driving him so to create such a massive empire. And that's badass. I love it. Everyone for different things. But all for me, I'm talking about longevity and mental health, physical health. And I really believe that comes from a clear, untraumatized nervous system and brain. You know what I mean? No one wants to go back to where they've come from. So that is always going to be in the back of our head, right? But the other side of it is, what's that biggest vision that should pull you into the future with passion, while we manage the anxiety and stress and everything like that? And that's why I always talk about my systems, neuroconditioning. You know what I mean? It's built right through the 8-figure thinker, built right through the genius trader, built right through the radical formula. Neuroconditioning means that we can step into the unknown under any amount of pressure, any new circumstance, anything, and we perform at our best. That's it. So speaking of that's it today, crew. That's it today. It's the end of episode 334. Hopefully you got some little golden nuggets or something out of that. And hopefully you get to the truth and really start to take action, okay? And speaking of taking action, have you hit the show notes? Have you clicked on the radicalformula.com? I don't know. But if you haven't, it's time to jump into that VIP list. We're going to get this going. Traders, I'm going to do something very, very soon, and we're going to get that out. It's all ready to rock and roll. But make sure that you're coming to hang out with me. I've got so much to share with you, so much to help. And until the next time, you have an amazing, amazing week. And oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.